esteemed guests, panelists, and fellow young people of our continent. I'm Olawale Bakare. I'm with Lafarge in Nigeria as Commercial Excellence Manager, and I sit on the board of Junior Chamber Nigeria as immediate past president. At JCI, we develop young people into successful leaders and entrepreneurs. I'm honored to welcome you to this important dialogue on leveraging the potential of youth entrepreneurship for Africa's sustainable industrialization. We've had a lot of conversations over the last 2 days on accelerating Africa's sustainable industrialization. As we gather today at the AEC, we are reminded of the critical role that young people play in shaping the future of our continent. Africa is home to the world's largest population of young people, with over 60% under the age of 35. This demographic dividend presents a tremendous opportunity for economic growth and development. A recent survey by the IFF shows that a survey of about 4,000 youths shows that over 78% of young Africans between ages 18 to 25 plan to start their businesses in the next 5 years. So youth entrepreneurship is unarguably one of the most promising avenues for harnessing the potential of Africa's youth. Young entrepreneurs are driving innovation, creating jobs, and contributing to economic growth across the continent. They are also at the forefront of solving some of the biggest challenges of our continent, ranging from climate change to inequality and poverty. So today's panel discussion, and I love the nature of the people on our panel. It's quite a complete panel. We have people in the academics, we have policymakers, government, who I'm going to bring up shortly. We would hear from experts and policymakers on how to create an enabling environment for youth entrepreneurship. I have an alignment with my panelists that we will focus on solutions that will take Africa to the promised land. I'm confident that this dialogue would yield valuable insights and recommendations for policymakers, youth organizations, and the private sector. And together we can create a future where African youth are empowered to unlock their entrepreneurial potentials and drive sustainable industrialization across the continent. It is my honor, therefore, to introduce to you this day distinguished members of this panel who are joining us from across the continent. Please welcome to this side the Honorable Minister for Youth of the State of Libya, Mr. Fathala Helzouni. Thank you very much for joining us. The one that I would call our host, the Minister for Women and Social Affairs of the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia, Muna Ahmed. Joining us from Addis Ababa University, a UNESCO Ambassador for Peace and Intercultural Dialogue, Ms. Kenna Amsalu. A volunteer at the Youth Alliance for Leadership Development in Africa, YALDA, and marketing manager of an African homegrown company, Yomi Delight Foods, Mr. Esono Jude. Founder and director of Youth Motion in Kenya, Mr. Gathige Wamena. And last but definitely not the least, a honorary junior research fellow of international studies and economics at the University of Buckingham, Sansi El Hassan Dayan. Please give a round of applause to my panelists. Thank you very much. Okay, so we'll move straight into the dialogue. I would take my seat. I think I should be here. So our honorable minister from Libya will be intervening in Arabic. So I'd like to recommend that you please use the interpretation tool. So we're discussing leveraging the potential of youth for sustainable industrialization in Africa? And I'd like to start with you, Honorable Minister El Zuni. Tracing back, from what you see, how has youth entrepreneurship contributed to sustainable industrialization of Africa so far? The journey to this point, how have young people contributed to what level of industrialization we've achieved in Africa?
شكرا بداية، وسعيد جدا للتدخل اليوم في قضية مهمة جدا للشباب الأفريقي، وهي مسألة ريادة الأعمال ودور ريادة الأعمال ورواد الأعمال في أفريقيا من أجل خلق تصنيع مستدام في أفريقيا. لعبت ريادة الأعمال الشبابية أدوار مهمة جدا.
I think we're having a problem with interpretation. Yes.
القضية المهمة اللي تهم الشباب الأفريقي وينشغل لها بشكل كبير جدا هي مسألة ريادة الأعمال وأدوار ريادة الأعمال الشبابية على المستوى القاري في تصنيع مستدام من أجل القارة الأفريقية. من المهم جدا أن نعي أن ريادة الأعمال اليوم في أفريقيا تلعب دور مهم جدا ومتقدم في مجال التصنيع المستدام، حيث أن الشباب بمجملة بمختلف فئاته وشرائحه يمثل الطاقات المبدعة وقوة هائلة ودافعة من شأنها خلق تصنيع نوعي وخلق تنمية مستدامة واستدامة الصناعة في أفريقيا. لكن هذا الأمر حقيقة يتطلب بالضرورة تعزيز الأدوار وتكاملها على المستوى الوطني وعلى مستوى المجموعات الاقتصادية وعلى مستوى القاري، بحيث أن احنا نصل إلى المبتغى والغاية من تفعيل أدوار الشباب في ريادة الأعمال أو رواد الأعمال الشباب في خلق صناعة متقدمة وخلق تصنيع مستدام في أفريقيا. النمو الاقتصادي وخلق فرص العمل تساهم فيه ريادة الأعمال الشبابية بشكل مهم جدا، فهي تحفز بشكل نوعي الاقتصاد على المستوى الوطني، وريادة الأعمال تعتبر من أهم أدوات النمو الاقتصادي على المستوى الأفريقي. وفق مؤشرات بنك التنمية في أفريقيا 70% من الشركات الصغيرة ومتوسطة الصغر في أفريقيا ومتناهية الصغر أيضا تساهم بشكل كبير في خلق فرص عمل للشباب. أبعد من ذلك، ريادة الأعمال الشبابية لا تحقق فقط فرص عمل للشباب، إنما أيضا لفئات أخرى هشة ومحرومة، في مقدمتها النساء وفي مقدمتها ذوي الاحتياجات الخاصة أو ذوي الإعاقة. ولهذا تأتي أهمية ريادة الأعمال الشبابية، الابتكار واعتماد التكنولوجيا. ريادة الأعمال الشباب والشباب رواد الأعمال عبر مجموعاتهم الاقتصادية اللي يعملوا فيها والنشاط الاقتصادي النوعي يهدفوا بشكل كبير جدا ويعملوا على خلق تكنولوجيا واستخدام الرقمنة التكنولوجية في مجال ريادة الأعمال اللي من شأنها تعزيز كفاءة والوصول إلى أسواق جديدة بالنسبة للشباب الأفارقة وبالنسبة للسوق الأفريقي، ويدفع الابتكار إلى التحول الصناعي اللي تتطلع إليه أفريقيا. التنمية الشاملة والمستدامة في ريادة الأعمال لدى الشباب الأفارقة هي أمر مهم جدا. تعمل ريادة الأعمال بشكل واضح على تعزيز مفهوم التنمية الشاملة وتعزيز الوصول إلى الاقتصاد الأخضر اللي تطمح إليه الاقتصاديات في أفريقيا. أيضا في مجال ريادة الأعمال تساهم في التنمية الشاملة من خلال خلق فرص متساوية بين الشباب، وأيضا الحد من الفقر والقضاء على المجتمعات الهشة بشكل واضح. الأمر اللي يخلي ريادة الأعمال الشبابية تعد عنصر هام ومهم جدا ومتقدم في مجال التصنيع المستدام في أفريقيا. ولكن أيضا في ذات الوقت هناك عدد من التحديات والفرص تواجه الشباب رواد الأعمال، والتي يجب أن يتم العمل عليها بشكل حلقة متواصلة بين مختلف الفاعلين في مجال الصناعة والمعنيين بالسياسات الوطنية في مجال التنمية المستدامة والصناعة المستدامة، ويأتي في مقدمة الحلول الناجعة اللي يجب العمل عليها تعزيز إمكانية وصول رواد الأعمال إلى آلية التمويل عبر البنوك وعبر مؤسسات التمويل، بحيث تكون هناك محافظ مالية ونسبة من محفظة التمويل مخصصة لرواد الأعمال الشباب. أيضا العنصر الثاني المهم جدا في مجال ريادة الأعمال لدى الشباب وفي مواجهة التحديات والمعوقات اللي تواجههم، يجب على صانعي القرار على المستوى الأفريقي وعلى المستوى الوطني تنمية قدرات الشباب ومهاراتهم وإكسابهم المهارات التكنولوجية اللي من شأنها تعزز وصولهم إلى الأسواق الجديدة بشكل أكبر. أيضا سهولة الوصول إلى البيانات وقواعد العمل المنظمة في الأسواق المحلية، من شأنه أنه يعزز ريادة الأعمال ومن شأنه أنه يخلق تصنيع مستدام على المستوى القاري، ويخفف بشكل كبير جدا اطلاع الشباب على القواعد المنظمة لعمل السوق، من شأنه أن يخفف الأعباء المالية والأعباء اللي تواجه الشباب خاصة على مستوى ريادة الأعمال في المشروعات الصغرى ومتناهية الصغر بشكل يحقق كفاءة عالية ويحقق نمو واقتصاد أخضر يخدم البيئة، لأن الشباب رواد الأعمال في أفريقيا هم الأقرب إلى الاقتصاد الأخضر ويسعوا إلى الوصول إلى اقتصاد يخدم بشكل كبير البيئة. في الختام الحقيقة في هذه النقطة ريادة الأعمال تمثل التحدي الأكبر لدى الشباب وممكن دعمها للوصول إلى تصنيع مستدام. شكرا.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your intervention, Mr. Elzuni. If I picked a few points from what he said, he mentioned that youth are at the forefront of the technologies that are driving Africa's industrialization. Yes, we're not where we should be, but we see that over the last few years, young people have contributed immensely to, contributed technologies that are supporting industrialization. He believes that young people have the creativity and innovation that is needed to drive sustainable industrialization. He also advocates for young people to be given the opportunity. He touched a few challenges that young people face, which would take me to the next question for you, Jude Esono. What are the main challenges that entrepreneurs in Africa face when starting businesses? And I think it's important to talk about these things so that everybody who we need to every relevant stakeholder who we need to hear these things can hear them and begin to look at solutions in the course of this conversation. Over to you.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank the panelists, thank the organizers for this opportunity, and I'll go directly to these challenges. Now, from the beginning of the program, we have been emphasizing on some major challenges like financial resources for young opportunities. We have been talking about political and economic crisis in some African countries. We have also talked about the need for technology, and these are the most important challenges, but I also want to emphasize on some challenges that are inevitable. And one of these are market entry and competition. Now, this is my very first time being in Ethiopia, Addis Ababa, and I love one thing in this country. Most of their products are made here. And for so many reasons, young entrepreneurs have that challenge of market entry for the fact that when they produce the products, because they are already giant European and Asian competitors, they feel very unrepresented in their countries. So we are the ones, Africa is among the best producers of cocoa, which is a raw material, but we transform less because we already have high competitors in Europe and Asia that still take these raw materials and transform. So market entry is still a problem to young entrepreneurs. They cannot easily access these markets, even in their own countries. So that was the first. The second goes to the policies and regulatory aspect. We still have the challenges, just like one of the participants emphasized, on visa. It's still very challenging for young entrepreneurs because they don't access these policies, number one. And number two, they have the challenges in representing themselves. I had the same challenge coming to Addis Ababa. Right from my own country, they were interrogating me, how can a student be attending the AEC 2023? That's already a challenge. We need to have the privilege to know these policies, and as well as we need to have the advantage as young entrepreneurs to fully harness the opportunity that's given to us. And I'll also talk about access to entrepreneurship skills. Now, it's not just access to skills, but entrepreneurial skills. Why? Because in entrepreneurship skills, we gain knowledge on not just what we are studied in universities, but we gain knowledge on the market, we gain knowledge on advantages on how to produce, what to produce, and who to consume. So there is a need to talk about entrepreneurship skills all over Africa. So that's one of the challenges young entrepreneurs are facing. They don't have those skills. They don't have access to those skills. And because of time, I'll talk lastly about networking and mentorship. This has been elaborated from the very beginning of this program. There is a need to look up to networking and mentorship. As young entrepreneurs, there are so many that are not privileged to have this. There are so many that are not even privileged to look at this online. They are in really remote areas. But there is a need to go back to these remote areas because these young people have great ideas, transformative ideas in the infrastructural development sector, in food processing sector, and there is a need to go back to them, creating network opportunities with them, sharing with them what they have in place. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jude. Very interesting insights shared there. I heard you on the challenges of market entry, access to finance, and the need to bridge the entrepreneurial skills gap, as the case is. Going over to Our Excellency Munah Ahmed, in your experience, I mean, on a continental scale, looking across the African continent, what specific policies or initiatives have you seen that have been successful in supporting youth entrepreneurship in Africa? I mean, that are scalable, that, I mean, we can learn from, you know, that can help accelerate industrialization in Africa.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Excellencies, distinguished guests, fellow panelists, and esteemed youth participants, it's an honor to be part of this vibrant youth dialogue on leveraging the potential of youth entrepreneurship for Africa's sustainable industrialization. As the State Minister for the Youth Affairs, I have had the privilege of witnessing the firsthand the transformative power of youth entrepreneurship across the continent. Africa youth are brimming with innovative ideas, entrepreneurial spirit, and the strong desire to contribute to their communities and the nations. In my experience on a continental scale, several specific policies and initiatives have been successful in supporting youth entrepreneurship in Africa. One, access to finance. Providing access to affordable and flexible financing option is crucial for enabling youth entrepreneurs to start and grow their businesses. This includes initiatives such as youth-specific loans, grants, and equity fund. The second one is skill development and training. Equipping youth with the necessary skills and the training is essential for their entrepreneurial success. This includes programs that provide technical, business, and entrepreneurial training tailored to specific needs of young entrepreneurs. The other one is mentorship and networking opportunities. Connecting young entrepreneurs with experienced mentors and providing opportunities for networking and collaboration can significantly enhance their chances of success. Mentorship programs and the business incubators play a vital role in this regard. The fourth one is enabling business environments. Creating an enabling business environment that supports the entrepreneurship is critical. This includes streamlining regulations, reducing bureaucratic hurdles, and fostering a culture of innovation and risk. The fifth one is promoting entrepreneurship in education. Integrating entrepreneurship education into school curricula and higher education programs can foster a culture of entrepreneurship from an early age. Harnessing technology, leveraging technology to provide access to information, markets, and the support services can significantly empower young entrepreneurs. Encouraging youth participation in policy formulations, engaging youth in the development and implementation of policies that affect their entrepreneurial endeavors is essential for ensuring their relevance and effectiveness, promoting role models and success stories, highlighting successful young entrepreneurs can inspire and motivate others to pursue their entrepreneurial aspiration. The other one is fostering a supportive ecosystem, creating supportive ecosystems that encourage innovations, collaboration, and risk-taking is crucial for nurturing and thriving entrepreneurial culture among youth. Harnessing the diasporas, engaging the African diasporas in knowledge transfer, mentorship, and investment can provide valuable support young entrepreneurs on the continent. These all policies and initiatives have demonstrated significant success in fostering youth entrepreneurship across Africa. By continuing to invest in these areas and adapting them to the specific context of different countries and regions, we can further accelerate the growth of youth-led enterprises and harness the full potential of youth entrepreneurship for Africa's sustainable industrialization. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, for your intervention. If I heard the minister very well, I heard that we need to provide more access to finance for young people. There's need for technical training. Networking and mentorship also plays, I heard that in the last session, we were talking about networking. We need to create an enabling environment. And then, I heard my sister from Uganda speak the other time about how we continue to, formulate policies for young people and women without their involvement. So it will be important going into the future that we engage youth in policy formulation. And then lastly, I heard also on knowledge transfer from the diaspora. You really we can benefit a whole lot from the expertise of those classes of people. I'll now go to my friend from Kenya, Gathige. How can African governments and organizations better support and empower young people, young entrepreneurs especially, to overcome the challenges that they face? We're now going forward thinking about what we think the government and other organizations can do.
Very well. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that question, which is actually coming at a very right time because we are celebrating the Africa Month. Yeah, no, it's Africa Youth Month. And just quickly, just quickly to refer to the Africa Economic Conference theme for 2019, which was jobs, entrepreneurship, and capacity building for young people. The outcome of that discussion emphasized on, involving young people or the governments and intergovernmental organizations, harmonizing their efforts in reaching out to young people whenever they are doing anything that is to create jobs for young people. And I'm actually so pleased because that one is already happening by even having a panel of young people and specifically for young people in this meeting, thanks to AFDB, UNDP, and ECA. So on the entrepreneurship question, I wish to just state that entrepreneurship Africa has a history of entrepreneurship, which dates back to the ancient times when Africans used to trade across borders. You can remember when trans-Saharan trade used to happen in the West Africa. African people used to trade their goods, ranging from gold, and they would move across Africa through caravans. So those days, Africans used to breathe the life into their trade routes, which actually contributed so much in coming up with trade routes and trade. I would call them trade cities. Trade cities like Timbuktu were discovered those days when Africans used to trade, to move across borders. And this one actually elevated the wealth of Africans. Wealth of Africans, and Africans used to know what an African is doing on the other hand. And I want to believe that the African Continental Free Trade Area, that's what it's, is bringing forth to work out. And actually speaking of industrialization, the backward-forward linkages for that the African Continental Free Trade Area is going to work out is what will bring entrepreneurship. And speaking of what governments need to do to enable youth engagements, I want to give an example of my own initiative that we are doing about the African Continental Free Trade Area. We have come up with an initiative to create awareness about the African Continental Free Trade Area across Africa, and it has been enabled by facilitation by our own government, which have been introducing us to the particular countries that we go to. We've covered 9 countries, we've gone to universities, and whenever we go to those countries, our government always sends a letter of introduction to the Kenya High Commissions in those countries. Therefore, we don't find a lot of difficulty in moving around those countries. So what I need to emphasize is that government intervention in youth activities is very critical in enabling youth performance and youth entrepreneurship in Africa by supporting those initiatives that have been already tried, tested, and proven.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your intervention. I heard you very clearly that there is need to, there's need for better improved adoption and implementation of the AFCFTA by countries, by governments, and there's need for governments to support initiatives to better enlighten young Africans about the AFCFTA. Okay, going over to my left, to Kenna. So I spoke the other time about the fact that about 78% of young Africans plan to start their business in the next 5 years, according to a survey. So what role do you think education and skills development will play in fostering youth entrepreneurship? Because they're going to start the businesses anyway. I mean, there are no jobs, it is the circumstances that is pushing them to start this business. But how can we make sure that through the right skills, these businesses come out successful and can accelerate industrialization in Africa?
Thank you for the question. Education plays a big role in fostering youth entrepreneurship in sustainable industrialization. But for us to make sure that education does bring young entrepreneurs that are active in sustainable industrialization, who are environment conscious, who are in the circular economy, who produce efficiently, we have to think in terms of quality. The education system and the skills development should be incorporating the sustainability, technological literacy, financial literacy, in order to help young Africans to conquer the already Western dominant market that's existing in Africa. We have seen a big transition from the agriculture sector to service sector in Africa. There's a missing part in the industrialization. So government needs to, education has a big role if it is actually delivered properly to encourage youth to be active in industrialization by teaching them the necessary skills that they need to utilize different kind of initiatives like the AFCFTA. And it has to be tailored to specific contexts to help the youth utilize the resources they have locally. So it's going to be a very hard challenge. It's going to be, education is going to help the youth, the young entrepreneurs to face the challenge they're going to get from external competitions that we have. And we have to produce what we consume. Because of the dominance of the service sector and agricultural sector, we are dependent on imports for filling the gaps we have in our demands. So education, if it's tailored properly and if it's invested in quality, it's going to help the young Africans, the young entrepreneurs who are currently in SMEs and who are planning to join the entrepreneurial environment to produce African, and so we can consume African. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I mean, I liked the end of your intervention, especially. On the one side, you believe that education today in Africa should incorporate digital literacy very strongly. Today, industry is driven by digital, by technology, and so it's important that every young person is not left behind. And very importantly, education and skills development needs to ensure that we can build businesses that are resilient, that can stand the test of time. Going over to you, and I think that will be our last intervention for today because I see that we're running out of time. I'll go to Sansi El Hassan. How can youth entrepreneurship be more inclusive and reach those in rural or marginalized communities who may not have the same opportunities and resources in the urban areas? I mean, we're here in the beautiful UN building in Ethiopia. I mean, how does a young African in the deepest corners of Uganda, how can we get this message across? Because everybody at the end of the day, I mean, wants to start a business, wants to start something that's whatever skill. How can we get this to the grassroots?
Oh, thank you very much. I will speak to French. Ça permet aussi à tout le monde d'entendre 3 langues aujourd'hui. On a entendu l'arabe, l'anglais, on va parler en français. Merci. Il faut déjà dire que le sujet aujourd'hui qui nous réunit sur l'industrialisation durable en Afrique est très important et il faut l'inscrire dans un processus, en fait. Et ce processus-là, il y a beaucoup de pays qui l'ont déjà engagé et qui sont presque arrivés à terme. Il y a d'autres qui sont dans le cours des choses. Il y a aussi des pays qui, malheureusement, sont encore loin. Et le contexte mondial qui a prévalu depuis 2020 avec les situations de crise qu'on connaît n'a pas aussi facilité les choses et peut constituer aussi pour l'Afrique des situations qui peuvent nourrir des crises. Et quand on sait que les crises sont nourries en Afrique, les personnes les plus touchées par ces crises sont les jeunes, qui représentent plus de 70% de la population active. Et dans ces jeunes-là, il faut se considérer les jeunes du milieu rural, qui représentent environ 60% de cette population. Et c'est très important de le signifier. Il convient de comprendre combien il faut les impliquer dans tout le processus de développement. Vous savez, le processus de développement qui part de la définition des politiques publiques. Il faut les faire comprendre qu'ils sont des acteurs majeurs dans ces politiques-là. Mais avant d'arriver à ces politiques, ce qui est aussi important, c'est le renforcement ou l'augmentation des politiques publiques en la matière. Parce que, vous voyez, les zones rurales sont des zones très reculées. Et ce n'est pas évident d'avoir accès à l'eau potable, à l'électricité, aux nouvelles technologies de communication et d'information, à l'école, à la formation, l'encadrement des qualités. Donc, le pouvoir public doit renforcer les investissements dans ce domaine. Et renforcer les différents investissements dans ce domaine permet également à ces populations jeunes-là d'avoir l'opportunité de créer plus d'avoir du génie, si vous voulez, d'avoir du génie, de faire preuve d'innovation et de créativité. Et aussi, face à cela, il faut dire que cette approche nous permet d'avoir une forme plus inclusive du process d'industrialisation et qui crée en même temps cet environnement d'industrialisation qui se situe dans un contexte systémique au fait, avec l'approche. Et pour poursuivre au fait, dans ce même domaine, nous pouvons dire que les infrastructures de base participent de l'amélioration des conditions de vie des jeunes. Et ces jeunes en milieu rural là, sont un véritable catalyseur d'opportunités. C'est une main-d'œuvre, au-delà de la main-d'œuvre, c'est du génie qu'on doit pouvoir sortir de ces jeunes-là. Et il faut créer, au-delà de tout ça, ce qu'on peut appeler un environnement des possibilités. Et cet environnement de possibilités-là va s'appuyer sur le développement des zones d'attractivité économique avancées ou de proximité et qui permet de mettre en valeur les caractéristiques et potentialités économiques de chaque zone Favoriser aussi le choix des politiques industrielles centralisées. C'est très important parce que quand on crée des zones industrielles dans des zones proches des zones urbaines, il faut dire que ça crée de la marginalisation pour les jeunes qui sont mieux rurales. Nos politiques de développement économique qui intègrent l'industrialisation doivent comprendre qu'il faut aller vers la proximité ou vers les méthodes avancées pour pouvoir plus inclure ces populations-là. Aussi, on pourrait ajouter en disant que ça favorise aussi la culture et la promotion de l'excellence et la création des champions locaux. C'est vraiment pas des champions nationaux, c'est bien beau, mais il faut aussi envisager la création des champions locaux. Et parce qu'on part de la base pour monter du niveau stratégique et politique. Donc, il faut encourager tout cela. Tout ceci viendra renforcer la capacité de ces jeunes entrepreneurs à participer
Merci
activement.
beaucoup.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. I mean, I'm trying to make sure that we can do this within time. Please feel free to clap. Thank you very much once again, Sansiel Diane. If I heard you correctly, I heard that we need to deliberately involve the youth in the urban areas in the development process. I mean, we need to be deliberate about reaching that population as well. We need to provide more access to electricity and ICT, because just like I said earlier, industrialization is going to be driven by technology. And then whether urban or rural, it's important to create an enabling environment for young people. And one thing that has struck me that he mentioned is that when we create industrial zones only close to urban areas, we have already created some level of marginalization. So we need to, reflect on some of these things in the policy formulation process going forward. We will now take some questions and comments. I would be able to take only about 2 to 3. I see a hand up from over there. Please help pass the mic. Thank you. Let's keep it short, 30 seconds, 1 minute maximum.
Okay. So good afternoon. My name is Bezalot and I'm a recent graduate in economics. So as a young economist and a youth advocate, I want to know what specific measures has been taken to enhance educational programs to equip African youth with the skills needed for sustainable industries, for sustainable and developing industries. Thank you.
Sorry, please, can you repeat that? So that I can take it down.
What measures have been taken to enhance educational programs to equip African youth with skills needed for sustainable industries?
Okay, I think I would pass that to Minister Ahmed. I believe that she'll be able to provide an answer when we come back. Okay, let me take my friend over there. Yes.
Merci. Je voudrais rapidement remercier les présentateurs et revenir sur la question de la formation dont parlait Madame. Je voudrais juste me rappeler de la conférence que je crois la CEA avait organisée, je crois sur le développement à Brazzaville. Et là, il était question de voir la question de la formation des jeunes. Et j'ai été heureux de comprendre que dans cet aspect des choses, on a parlé de changement de paradigme. Comment est-ce que nos universités vont s'adapter pour les jeunes, bien entendu, pour que ces jeunes deviennent des jeunes créateurs. Alors, l'idée qui est sortie était de créer des universités entrepreneuriales. C'est-à-dire que la formation classique que nous connaissons depuis les indépendances a échoué. Donc, faire en sorte que les États commencent à créer des universités de formation adaptées à l'emploi. Et j'ai été heureux de constater que plusieurs pays sont dans ce créneau, dont l'Éthiopie, dont nous avons pratiquement une quinzaine d'universités qui sont déjà spécialisées dans la formation des jeunes pour directement être entrepreneurs. Et j'aimerais tout simplement demander à Madame si cette idée suit son cours dans cette perspective, n'est-ce pas, de rendre les jeunes entrepreneurs. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much. Thank you for that wonderful intervention. I heard you on the need to train young people, and you're advocating for the creation of entrepreneurial universities. I'm sure that Minister Ahmed also has an experience to share from Ethiopia. I mean, like you have admonished. Okay, let's come to my sister here. Let's keep it short, please. Thank you.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. These are my suggestions. Mostly in Uganda, we have a lot of entrepreneurs, local ones, or in rural areas, who don't even know English. How can you help those guys? Maybe we translate the information to their languages. Now, I have another question. We have commercial touches. Everyone here has some commercial touches to different embassies. What's the work of commercial touches? Because I think they should have brought us information or get us markets where they are. Like Turkey, they connect people there to us in Uganda. What is the purpose of commercial touches? And I have another something else I'm thinking of. Why is it that our ministers of trade all over Africa can't sit down and think about opening African shops throughout the countries so that we can take our products, each country which is interested. Even foreigners, when they go there, they can see the products, maybe from Zambia, and they can make order. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Madam. Powerful interventions. And I would say that was, I mean, I took that more as a suggestion, not a question, because I'm sure the ministers are here and they talk to their friends. So they're going to bring forward that very wonderful idea. And I think it's a beautiful one. I would like to take a last one from a youth. Please pardon me. From a young person, yes. Please, are you under 40? So
yes.
Thank you.
Yes, good morning, everyone. I'm Brukas Chalo, founder and president of Ndaras Youth Association based here in Addis. First of all, I want to appreciate our State Minister, Her Excellency Waziri Muna. She and her team is just doing a lot of steps for the utilization of youth and participation at all. My question is very short and clear, just as you can take it as a suggestion, also as a question, how we can increase the participation of users in the finance and the African free continental trade also, because the participation of the youth is everywhere. It's used as a buzzword since these days, but practically how we can increase participation of the users in African finance and economy.
Thank you very much. I mean, was one of the second round of questions that I penned down, if time permitted. I mean, how can we, better? I mean, it's looking like the new thing across the continent now, AFCFTA, but, how can we? So what I'll do is that I would allow each panelist take, yes, just final comments, touching on some of the questions and comments, starting with our Honorable Minister from Libya. So 30 seconds, closing comments to touch on some of the questions, and then we can close the dialogue.
شكرا. في الحقيقة أنا التعليق بشكل مقتضب على سؤال الشاب اللي تفضل به حول منطقة التجارة القارية الحرة، في اعتقادي أن هذه تمثل فرصة مهمة وفرصة هائلة أمام الشباب في أفريقيا، ومن الممكن أن هي تساهم مساهمة كبيرة جدا في تحسين مستويات الدخل للشباب عبر ريادة الأعمال، ولكن على الأقل وبشكل مقتضب تحتاج منطقة التجارة الحرة لمواجهة التدابير اللي من شأنها تطبيقها إلى 5 أشياء مهمة. رقم 1 تبسيط الإجراءات الجمركية. يجب أن يتم تبسيط الإجراءات الجمركية اللي من شأنها أن تعزز رواد الأعمال الشباب إلى تعزيز تجارتهم عبر الحدود. تعزيز البنية التحتية للحدودية، لأن الحدود ما بين الدول تحتاج بشكل كبير جدا إلى الرقمنة وإلى إدخال التكنولوجيا، بحيث أن الشباب يسهل عملية من شأن رواد الأعمال الشباب تسهيل عملية انتقال السلع والخدمات في الاستثمار في البنية التحتية الحدودية. أيضا مسألة الشفافية وهي مهمة جدا وتطبيقها بحيث أن يتم التنبؤ خاصة على مستوى الإجراءات الجمركية اللي تواجه الشباب وكيفية التظلم الشباب رواد الأعمال من بعض الإجراءات اللي تتم من خلال السلطات الجمركية، وهذا من شأنه أنه يخلق فاعلية أكبر وتمكين أكبر للاستفادة من منطقة التجارة الحرة. بناء القدرات والتدريب المهني سواء للشباب رواد الأعمال وأيضا على مستوى القائمين على المنطقة التجارة الحرة. أخيرا وليس آخرا وهو تعزيز التعاون الإقليمي على مستوى المجموعات الاقتصادية الإقليمية، والتعاون الإقليمي سيسهم إسهام كبير جدا في مواجهة التحديات والتدابير اللي من شأنها قد تعيق التطبيق العملي لمنطقة التجارة الحرة، وبحيث نوصلوا إلى أكبر قدر من الكفاءة والاستفادة لهذا الطموح الكبير من خلال منطقة التجارة الحرة. وشكرا.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. I'll move over to Honorable Minister Muna.
Especially concerning the entrepreneur skills. As I have said before, Ethiopia is the second populous country in Africa. The total population of the country is close to around 120 million. From this, the number of is close to 45 million. It might be the population number of one country. So having this in mind, as I have said before, one of the challenges entrepreneurs face is entrepreneur skills. That's why the government of Ethiopia pays special attention to establish the Ministry of Labor and the Skill. In addition to that, majority of the universities give this course. I don't know the number of the university. I can't name the number of universities that give the entrepreneurs in education, but majority of them give entrepreneurs in their education. To conclude my speech, Africa is a resource-rich country. There are untapped potential of human resource and natural resource and human resource. The issue is how can we liberate the potential of these resources for the growth for the development of Africa. So as a government, as a politician, we have to think of that. The political commitment is a must to create a conducive environment for these young entrepreneurs. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. I see that there's a lot that we can learn from Ethiopia in this regard. I'll go over to my friend Gathige.
Thank you very much. I'm so thankful for this opportunity. Mine is just to emphasize that just to our governments and our, multinational organizations, just spend time to understand what young people of Africa are doing. If whatever they're thinking is just in form of ideas, just think through them, listen to them, and if they have already started doing something that is engaging and would provide just an extra job from whatever is available, please have the confidence to invest in them. So that's to say, invest in us, risk with us, but don't leave us. Walk with us so that when we develop that adrenaline to run, you can also run with us. Please don't leave us, but risk with us, and risk with us without doubt. Thank you.
Invest with us, risk with us, and don't leave us. Don't leave us emphasizes the need for creating environments for young people to be mentored. Thank you very much for your intervention. I'd go to Jude.
Okay, thank you very much. What I want to say is there's an African adage that says, it is better to teach someone how to cook rather than giving that person food, because each time the person is hungry, they want to come for food. So it's better to teach how to cook. This means that we might not be very professional here in Africa, but we can always start by training ourselves. So let's not only rely on getting all the best designer dresses in Europe and Asia, but let's start buying our own. Let's stop relying on the food supplements in other European countries. Let's start producing our own and let's start consuming them. So thank you very much. That's just what I wanted to say.
Thank you very much. And thanks for leaving your comments. I mean, your dressing is purely African. We're all very guilty. Those of us wearing suits on the panel. Please feel free to clap for the gentleman. Let's go over to Sansi El Asanda.
Merci. Je vais rebondir rapidement sur la question relative à la ZLECAf. Ce sont des outils d'intégration qui sont développés au niveau politique et stratégique, mais il est nécessaire d'inclure les jeunes du milieu rural dans l'implémentation de ces genres d'outils d'intégration qui sont très importants pour le développement économique, en fait. Et pour finir, je vais essayer de répondre vite fait à une question qui a été posée par l'un des participants sur les universités. Il faut dire que c'est vrai qu'il y a eu des moments où les universités étaient plus dans les thématiques et aussi globales, mais il faut renforcer nos universités avec des spécialités, c'est-à-dire développer des universités thématiques. Ça rapproche les pouvoirs publics vers les jeunes. Et puis pour finir, vous savez, rien n'est fait d'un climat qui n'est pas en paix et qui n'est pas stable. Et la stabilité d'un pays dépend de sa jeunesse également, puisque la jeunesse constitue un véritable moyen économique pour ces jeunesses-là. Il faut que les pouvoirs publics accentuent les actions sur la stabilité et sur la sécurité. Je vous remercie.
Thank you very much for that intervention. I'll now go over to my last panelist, Kenna Amsalo.
Okay. We have heard a lot about education and skills development. Africa has immense potential, immense labor availability. The only way that we can unlock our potential is through education and through quality skills development. I think governments and politicians, respective people who are responsible, have to be focused on working on developing quality education and skills development. And we're definitely going to, if we do that, we're definitely going to industrialize and we're going to dominate the international market.
Thank you very much. Again, advocating for the importance of education as skills development to accelerate Africa's industrialization. So as we conclude this important dialogue on leveraging the potential of youth entrepreneurship for Africa's sustainable industrialization, I'd like to take a moment to reflect on the key takeaways from our discussion. First, we have learned that young people are the driving force behind what we see today as Africa's economic transformation. They're innovative, they're creative, they're resourceful, they're energetic, they're resilient and determined to succeed. Secondly, we've learned that there are a number of challenges facing young entrepreneurs in Africa, ranging from access to finance, skills development, and market access. However, we have also discussed some of the opportunities, such as the growing African markets, the increasing availability of technology, and the African continental free trade area. Finally, we've heard from experts today and policymakers about the role that governments, youth organizations, and the private sector can play in creating an enabling environment for youth entrepreneurship to thrive. To our development partners, I think we should focus the future on ensuring that Africa goes beyond being seen as an epicenter for humanitarian action, but one with great potential for accelerated industrialization with the right investments in youth and women. I'm confident that the insights and recommendations that we have shared today would help us to build a brighter future for the young people of Africa. I'd like to thank you, our dear panelists, for your very inspiring contributions. And I encourage every one of us to continue to support young entrepreneurs in Africa. In the words of the Vice President of the African Development Bank, let's grow Africa, let's buy Africa. Thank you all very much and have a wonderful afternoon. Thank you all very much.